Today we're talking about how being authentic is bull. What? No, this is my video. I'm as real as it gets. Like, you can't edit me. I'm the editor. It's time for another Alex Uncut.
Let's put our living stereo
He's telling Wallace for a reason.
This is not a Today's question comes to us from Korean Friend Jeen, who asks, did you ever find yourself acting differently or speaking differently depending on who you are talking to, even though you don't want it? How do you deal with it? Thank you for the question. I love talking about this. If you are a fan of the channel and you've been around since the beginning, you know how many times I talk about authenticity and how darn important it is. I've done it with other people. I've probably done it by myself way too much. I was part of the pro-authenticity movement, and I still am, because authenticity is a good thing, and being so fake is a terrible thing. That's why people have so many issues with their bodies, because they see people on social media posting this fake, unattainable, unrealistic goal of what a body should look like. It's not healthy. And also doing it to yourself is worse, because if you post a picture that's heavily filtered and then you look in the mirror, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm terrible. But you're not. You're fine. Being authentic is very important. Let me slide over here so I can get some more words up in this area. It is extremely important, and we're gonna talk about why. There are some problems with being authentic. Being authentic can lead to, well, a couple of issues. Number one, can lead to some inappropriate situations. Let's talk about the obvious one first. Imagine you are at a funeral and you wanna be the authentic, real self, and you wanna make sure that you connect with the person who lost a loved one. So you go up and you're hurting from your situation too, and you say, hey man, I understand what it's like. I just lost my hamster like a week ago. They're like, what? That is my brother that passed away and you're talking about a hamster? Like, yeah, I get you, man, I feel you. And they'll be like, nuh-uh, no you don't. Sometimes it's not appropriate. You've actually become a worse human being when you do something like that. I'm relating to you because you lost your hamster and blah, blah, whatever, like that kind of stuff. You don't want to do that. Or, imagine at work, you're trying to land this big deal and everyone around you has been working for this deal for a long time, and you break down in the middle of a presentation because your girlfriend just left you. And how terrible is that? But you want to be real when you make this deal, and obviously this is a terrible idea. So that's one way that being authentic, it's the obvious way, that it's not a good idea, like you shouldn't do that. The other thing though that may come as a surprise to you is that being authentic can actually really hold you back, and it can hold you back from being your own authentic self. Now, what would Alex be doing if he was his true authentic self right now? That's a good question. I know the answer. I would be watching Detective Jake Peralta and the 9-9. They're gonna be doing their stuff. Okay, I'm addicted to the show. You know I am. Get over it. Okay, no, I need to get over it. Right, I'm sorry. Point being, when we want to do the things that our authentic selves want to do, we have a problem, because our authentic selves are wired in the days of living in caves and roaming around in the deserts of wherever we came from, Africa probably. We were doing things that were important to our survival back then, like following the crowd. It was cool to follow the crowd and be in a community back then because it meant your survival was awesome. You had a great chance of it if you're with people. Or eating sugary substances because you need food. And that's why now we go for chocolate bars unknowingly, because that's what our bodies are designed to do, our real authentic self. And so we have to realize that being our real authentic self all the time can actually inhibit us from going for longer term goals and things that we need in the end. All right, so the good news is not being your authentic self can be a good thing. Well, okay, not being totally fake, but having a little bit of leeway in there. Let me give you the example of the student. It could be a first grade student in elementary school who wants to make his mom proud, or a high school student that's trying to get into a university that's really prestigious or needs scholarship money, and they're working their butt off, but they actually don't love science. They actually hate the hell out of it, but they know in order to make their mom happy with good grades or get into a good school with a high grade in biology, they've got to maybe not be completely authentic to their teacher or even their partners in their science class. Like, whatever it may be, being authentic at the moment may actually inhibit you from getting those authentic goals in the end. Your authentic goal may be to change the world, but in order to do that, you need a scholarship to go to university or whatever it may be. you've got to kind of hide your authentic self a little bit in order to get what you need out of life, or at least what you want to get self-actualization. All right, so how do we do it? How do we fix this? How do we balance the two between being authentic and also the not authentic part that's not as, what do we do? I don't know. The way that I look at it is this way. Being authentic is extremely important, but we have to look at it from a different perspective, and that is communication with our fellow human beings. Telling our real story in a way that others can relate to is vital. It is how we spread our message. It is how we spread our authentic self, even if we change that self just a little bit so that more people can understand it. That's what bands call selling out. When they sell out, yes, they're not their original sound, but they're reaching a larger audience and getting more people to listen to their music. In a way, we sort of have to sell out. So I was reading an article, a 2011 article by Brian Clark, not being my authentic self. I actually did homework. That's not the real me, but I wanted to explain the real. Okay, back to this. It's called Why People Don't Want the Real You. I'll link it down below. The problem is everyone wants to tell their own story, right? I want to tell my story and you want to tell it too. That's what the comment section is for. I love reading those stories. They're important. The story matters, but only to the extent that it helps people tell the story they want to tell about themselves. There's the key right there. The story matters, but only to the extent that it helps people tell the story they want to tell about themselves. Let's look at Nike, one of the greatest marketing campaigns of the 90s. Maybe it was before, I don't know. Just do it. Everyone knows it if you grew up in that era. Just do it. Nike, the authentic Nike company, is a sports company. And yes, there are probably people in the company that really believe in that philosophy of just go out there and try it. Who cares what people say? Hit the road, hit the pavement, just do it. Great, that's awesome. But they had to alter the story a little bit so that when we buy the products, we buy Nike shoes or a Nike shirt because it helps us tell the story of me, of you, of ourselves. That's what it helps us do. So Nike had to make commercials that allowed us to really be able to tell our story of who we were by buying a Nike product. So that's how it works. They can't just give the real story of Greg from HR who wants to tell his story about what Nike means to him. They had to make a story that we could relate to. So this is the real me. I want to make that clear. Alex, this guy right here, totally the real me. But I'm not the real me that would be in a cafe. I've changed myself a little bit. I don't speak like this at a cafe. People would think and know that I am a little bit crazy. Okay, I might be crazy anyway, but I do know how to control myself at a cafe or at a bar or in a classroom. I alter the real me a little bit to fit the situation. And that is, in the end, what we have to do to get our authentic message out to people. So the truth is that if you want the authentic you to make a real impact on the world and to change the world for the better, we've got to figure out how to make a real authentic message get out to other people, and that means changing the authentic us just enough so that people can make that story their own. That is the importance of today. So when we go back to the question that we had, did you ever find yourself acting differently or speaking differently depending on who you're talking to, even though you don't want it? How do you deal with it? Look, the authentic me wants people and people around me and people to watch these videos. The authentic me wants to make sure that those people have a better life. And sometimes, in order for that to happen, I need to change my story. Not change the facts or the details, but change the way I deliver my story and the facts that I emphasize just a little bit. Because in the end, I am relaying my story to you so that you can create your own story through bits and pieces of the world around you and maybe from this video too. And you can make your own true authentic story about yourself. So in order for me to achieve my goal, I've got to share an authentic version of myself that the people around me can relate to. Whoa, that was kind of fun. See, it's good to be a little bit inauthentic. I did some homework and made a script a little better because I had a message to convey. What do you think about this? How authentic do we need to be? How authentic is too authentic and how fake is too fake. Leave your comments in the description as always. I read every single one of them. That's why you get a heart next to your comment. I love reading them and I love responding when I can. Of course, don't forget to ask a question for next week as well. Need those questions to keep this channel going. So ask more questions, ask the same questions I didn't get to answer this week. Whatever it is, would love to read whatever you have to say down there. Just make sure it is your authentic self in a way that is appropriate for a YouTube comment section. Be nice, be kind to other people. And of course, as always, don't forget to hashtag like this video because that's what keeps this channel moving. Like the video, just feed the narcissism. That's the hashtag, actually. You probably saw it up there. Okay, anyway, we have a few more questions. I always answer these at the end. Let's get to these. Dusty Rhodes, what charity or charitable cause is most deserving of money? There are so many good ones out there. Personally, I prefer ones that relate to climate change, global warming, whatever you want to call it, because we're all starting to really feel the effects of it, whether it's just the pollution in our lungs or the more ridiculous weather that we're getting. I think it's something that if you find the right cause, maybe something that deals with green technology, whatever it may be, I think that's always a good one that helps you and all of us and our future generations. But there are a lot of great charities out there that aren't about that. It's just my personal opinion. And Clarice, not sure if anyone asked this question, but I thought it might be interesting. If you had a chance to travel to an era, which one would it be in and why? I did answer it. I want to go back to the 2000s. I want to go back to the pop punk era. And I wish I would have made that band with my brother that we started in the garage. That would have been so cool. I'm sorry. I'm on a binge of also watching a bunch of My Chemical Romance music videos. Anyway, thanks again for joining me all the way to the end. Don't forget to be the authentic you. As always, we need to be good, do good, and feel good. And of course, repeat. See you next week. This is Alex. Oh, I messed up the ending. That's the authentic me. This is Alex Uncut, as real as it gets. See you next week. Goodbye, haseyo. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the real me. I'm authentic. So authentic, I'm coming back here to ask you to please watch these videos down here. That just sounds weird. I don't even see, if you just act too authentic, it sounds ridiculous, but still, you can click those videos if you'd like. I'm just saying, you do you. You be the real you. That's all I'm saying.